Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Young. I am the events director for EDTA, and I am really excited to share with you a number of important updates about ITF 2022. We are planning to return to an in-person ITF in 2022 at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, June 20th through the 24th, 2022. There are a few important things that I'd like to make sure I highlight before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the ITF planning and logistics that have been going on for the last few months. ITF.schooltheater.org is your hub for information. Make sure you bookmark it, check back often for updates, and direct your students there or other troop directors, parents for any specific details related to ITF. We currently have the draft schedule, we have an FAQ, and we have information about main stage and chapter select, as well as thespies already posted on the website. We are working to announce registration rates as quickly as possible. We know that that's important in the fundraising process and planning process to know how much it's going to cost to attend the event. You can plan on registration rates being similar to what they were the last time we were in person in 2019, if you want to use that as kind of a gauge, but we won't be able to announce the official rates until the budget has been approved by the board of directors. We do have a COVID-19 policy and vaccination requirements, as well as a masking policy, and I'll share more details on that as we go through the presentation. We are fortunate to be able to return to pre-pandemic capacity for the classrooms and event spaces, as well as the dorms. So troops will be housed together in all gender dorms. Primarily, the bathrooms are private and semi-private. And we are planning on hosting the late night activities in the dorms as opposed to different venues on campus to help contain troops and get them back to where they need to be before curfew each evening. We have consolidated the schedule to 5 days. This is a very strategic thing that we've done, and we've looked at all of the ways that we can help make the time more valuable for all of our attendees while you're there in Bloomington. We understand that it's a big commitment, especially for troop directors. It's a major, and chaperones, it's a major time commitment. And we appreciate that you're able to take that time out of your summer to bring your students to ITF. We've also allowed for more flexibility in the schedule. Troops can choose what workshops they want to attend, what performances that they want to attend, and it allows a little bit more freedom in your schedule throughout the week. And the hope is that you'll attend what's most important to you and to your troop. We will also be conducting adjudications primarily digitally, and we will be hosting some auditions and adjudications in person at ITF, but we found a lot of success with the digital format and will continue to do so as we move into 2022. As a reminder, everything is new at IU. It's impossible for me to tell you right now every single detail and have everything completely ironed out, not only because of COVID, but also because it's the first time we'll be hosting ITF at IU and in person for many years. So our goal is to share with you information as we know it and can confirm it. And of course, we appreciate you understanding that this is how we need to be able to share information with you for this coming year. So first, let's talk about logistics. As I mentioned earlier, we appreciate everyone's patience and know that this is a very complex event. On top of having all of the additional move from Nebraska to Indiana, we have COVID mitigation requirements and things that we need to implement to make sure that all of our attendees and staff and members and volunteers are safe. So it will take you a little bit of patience and time and perseverance, but we will get through all of this together. As I mentioned earlier, the ITF dates have been announced. For 2022, we will be hosting ITF June 20th through the 24th in Bloomington, Indiana at IU's campus. We do have a number of dates already on the books that will also be held at Indiana University, and you can see those dates here on the screen, but typically the dates for ITF are the last full week in June each year. We do have a number of important dates related to registration and housing and ticketing, all leading up to ITF. So main stage applications are due November 1st. We will be opening the workshop proposals December 15th, and registration opens on January 10th. We will be hosting a Thespies qualifying event for any chapters that do not have a Thespies qualifier, or any students that live in a state that do not have a chapter. And there's more information about that on the Thespies website. We will be announcing workshops in mid-March, as well as main stage. Chapter Select will be due April 1st. And April 15th is when we will be opening the college auditions and Thespie submissions portal. Registration closes May 11th. And June 1st is when all of your students who are participating in Thespies or college auditions need to submit their entries. June 10th is when all payments, background checks, and consent forms are due, as well as our vaccination verification documents. So getting to IU is pretty easy. For those of you that are flying in, you'll fly into Indianapolis's International Airport. There's a Go Express shuttle service from the Indianapolis International Airport to Bloomington. It's $27 per person each way. So make sure you budget that into your fundraising efforts. It has limited drop-off locations on campus, which I understand is different from what was done previously at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. So in addition to the Go Express shuttle, we will have an IU shuttle running around campus during the week of ITF for a couple of reasons. One, for anyone that might need some extra assistance getting to and from different places on campus. It's a larger campus. It's somewhat spread out, but it really doesn't take more than 15 to 20 minutes to get from one end of campus to the next. So not to worry about it taking a really long time if you choose to walk, but we will have shuttles there in the event that someone wants to hop on the shuttle to get from one venue to the next. And we are working on group discounts for ground transportation and flights. As that gets finalized, we will post it to the website. So dorms and dining halls, as I mentioned, we will be housing a majority of our attendees in the dorms. So special requests and accommodations will be submitted by troop directors using our online reservation portal. Troops will be housed in the same dorms as each other. We are currently planning on having floors separated by gender, with adult floor captains and dorm captains in each dorm. You will access your housing using a key card, which many of you are probably familiar with, and students can't enter floors they're not assigned to for additional safety and security precautions. Curfew is at midnight, and all of the late night activities will be held in the dorms, as I mentioned, in a way to encourage students to get back to their dorms and socialize and network with students that are staying in the same dorm as them. We will not have our assigned dorms from IU until next spring, but you can currently virtually tour rooms on Indiana's website, and I've included the link in the PowerPoint presentation. And it's also available on our website, a link to their virtual tour of their different dorm rooms. Most dorms have private and semi-private bathrooms rather than communal bathrooms. So that is extremely helpful for any students that need additional privacy or that are more comfortable having a private or semi-private space as opposed to the traditional college community baths at the end of the hall. That's not to say that we won't have some dorms with that particular setup, but as I mentioned earlier, we can't know for sure which dorm setup we'll have in our package of dorms for a couple more months. So as soon as that information is available, you'll be able to access that again through our online reservation portal, and you will have a little bit more ability and flexibility to select spaces that accommodate your students' preferences and requests. Dining halls will be reopened as well. We will have 2.5-hour time slots open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with concurrent workshops happening at the same time. So the recommendation would be to select one of the 2 workshop time slots and have lunch in the opposite time, or dinner or breakfast, whatever the time frame is, so that you can make sure not to miss a meal. For host hotels, we do have official host hotels that we are working with during ITF. The Biddle Hotel and Conference Center is at the IMU, which is the Indiana Memorial Union, and that is the student union on campus. We also are looking to book rooms at the Graduate, and we have a book of rooms at the Hilton Garden Inn. So adult attendees will make hotel reservations using our online housing portal, exhibitors, vendors, that sort of thing. And then I do understand that troops use hotels in some instances, that's their preference. So troop directors will have access to the hotel room blocks as well. And it's a discounted rate, so make sure that you book in our block and with our group so that you can get the best rates for your hotel stay. So seating assignments and ticketing for any event that requires assigned seating. So anything happening in the IU auditorium or the MAC, which is the Musical Arts Center, our 2 primary stages that we'll be using for ITF, will require tickets for entry. There's no additional fee for those tickets, and there's nothing to say that you won't have access to a particular performance. We are running performances enough times so that people should be able to see the main stage performances that they want to see. But with social distancing requirements and cleaning requirements and timed entry, assigning the seats for the performances is a little bit more complex than it was the last time we were in person. So our venues will be managing that through a contactless ticketing process. We will no longer have paper tickets, and they utilize Ticketmaster. So they will be managing that whole process for us. Again, as I mentioned, no additional fees will be charged. It will run more like what you're used to if you attend any type of professional or community theater type program where you might have season tickets and you assign your seats at the beginning of the season and you sit in the same spot. So it will be very similarly set up to that process. But again, they will be managing that for us, and troop directors will be responsible for going in and selecting how many tickets they need and where they want to sit. So health and safety protocols, it goes without saying that I can't get through this presentation without referencing COVID. So we must follow IU's current COVID-19 conference and event guidelines. As a requirement to be able to host an event on IU's campus, we need to agree to the policies and guidelines that they have set forth for large groups. Currently, any event that's 50 or more people requires approval by the University Events Review Committee. And they have a guideline that they've published that's valid through December 31st, 2021. I anticipate them updating this later this fall to have for events through June 30th, 2022, which would include ITF. They are not requiring COVID-19 waivers. They're no longer physical distancing. Barriers are no longer required. However, masks are required for everyone on IU's campuses indoors. Masks are not required outdoors. We are responsible for putting together an emergency action plan that has to be developed and submitted as part of our safety plan. And of course, if you feel unwell while you're attending ITF, visit the health center, urgent care, traveling nurses. If you test positive for COVID-19 during ITF, you will need to isolate. And should a roommate or troop director or troop member test positive, you will be considered a close contact. You can participate fully in ITF if you are asymptomatic and vaccinated. So what to expect in 2022? All attendees must provide proof of vaccination prior to arriving in Bloomington. We are implementing touchless check-in for registration and ticketing. Masks are required, as I mentioned, including performance venues. Disposable masks will be available throughout the event should an attendee forget their mask for a class or a workshop they're attending or a performance they're attending. As I mentioned previously, capacity in classrooms and event spaces is back to pre-pandemic approved capacity. So if the capacity in a room is 100 people, we can have 100 people in the room again. We are going to have additional hand sanitizing stations available in high traffic areas around campus, dorms, dining halls, performance venues, workshop, classroom buildings. And when possible, we will provide meals in individual containers or plated meals as opposed to buffets. Again, as I mentioned, if you're feeling unwell during your time at IU, we will have medical assistance available for anyone that feels unwell. If you feel unwell prior to your arrival in Bloomington, you can email us by June 20th, and we can transfer your registration fee to ITF 2023. So for the code of conduct, we strive to create an inclusive and welcoming environment for all of our attendees. A few things that we are implementing to help make attendees feel welcome and safe. We have all gender bathrooms available. There is a campus map with the locations of all gender bathrooms that IU provides. We will be including land acknowledgements in our presentations. ADA compliance, we will be following. We have an anti-bullying policy, and adult floor and dorm captains will be trained in helping our students feel safe and secure, especially in the dorms during their stay. And we will still have morning court for any student that has any type of incident the previous day. They will need to report to our morning court at 8 a.m. at Union Street Center. So we will have that. We don't anticipate having to send many students there, but it is there for any incidents that might take place during ITF. We will need lots and lots of volunteers. Adjudication is one of the biggest areas of need for volunteers. It's a minimal time commitment, and it's primarily leading up to ITF. We also will have a need for adjudicators on site, but a much smaller pool. So if you have the extra time, or if you're bringing several chaperones and you have the ability to adjudicate while you're on site, I encourage you to reach out to Jenny Butch. She is the program manager for our performances and also does all of our training for adjudicators. We also will need safety and security volunteers, again, about 100 volunteers for safety and security. These are those adult floor captains and dorm captains that I have been referencing. They will be required to do a training in advance of arriving in Bloomington. And again, if you're interested in volunteering for the safety and security team, you can contact Brian Monk, and he will help point you in the right direction, make sure that you're on the contact list to assist with safety and security. I know in the past we have offered discounted registrations for safety and security volunteers. This is something that is available depending on the number of hours that you work. So I know that that's typically a question that comes up. I wanted to make sure I address it. We will have an exhibit hall this year. The colleges and vendors will be located in Alumni Hall at the IMU. They'll all be in one space, and the exhibit hall will be open throughout the week. So the next topic I want to make sure I cover is performances. And we do have a couple really beautiful spaces that we'll be able to utilize while we're on campus. The IU Auditorium seats 3,200 people. It's where we'll host the main stage, the Thespies Awards Showcase, And the MAC, the Musical Arts Center, holds 1,400 people, which is also where we'll host main stage shows. Another theater that we'll be utilizing is Ruth Ann Halls. This is where we'll be hosting Chapter Select and the Thespies playwriting and play and musical commission staged readings. So main stage, we will be selecting 8 productions to be featured on the main stage this year. We are conducting adjudication digitally. This will allow more schools to receive feedback without having to pay a higher fee. When in-person adjudication was our standard practice, it was quite expensive to be able to afford in-person adjudication with traveling expenses and all of that. So we are going to be utilizing digital adjudication for main stage, and it will help open up the opportunities for students and troops to be able to showcase their strengths and also get feedback to ultimately improve programs over time based on that positive feedback that they're receiving and constructive feedback. The adjudication fee is $249, and schools that were selected for ITF 2021 main stage are permitted to apply again in 2022. That is a different policy than we've had in the past. Chapter Select will be hosting 20 Chapter Select showcase productions, and they can be virtual or hybrid. The time limits and everything will be back to what it was when we were in person. It's a 1-hour time slot, including time to set and strike. And any school that's interested in being nominated needs to be sure to reach out to their chapter director for details. Each chapter runs Chapter Select a little bit differently. So it's important that you contact your chapter director to get more information about that process. Additional performance opportunities will include Thespies playwriting, the commission play and commission musical. We will not be hosting musical works, film works, or critic works as of now at ITF 2022, depending on sponsorship commitments for those particular programs. Should we find a sponsor that's interested in hosting those events, then we'll certainly revisit having those events available for students to participate in. The Thespies, so the Thespies is our International Excellence Award program. Inducted thespians may participate, and students must earn a superior rating at a qualifying event in order to move on to ITF. You can qualify either at your chapter festival or in our National Unified Qualifier, February 1st through March 1st, 2022. And again, the Unified Qualifier is open to students that troop is not in a chapter, or their state doesn't have a chapter, or a chapter that's not hosting a Thespies qualifier. Students can participate in the Unified Qualifier to get feedback for their Thespies entry. We are taking a hybrid approach to adjudication again this year, which means we will have digital and in-person feedback based on scheduling and requests from different chapters and troop directors based on what their requirements are to ensure that they can attend ITF and participate. The Thespies Showcase will be a red carpet event to close out ITF. We'll be running one showcase, similar to what we did with virtual ITF the last couple of years. And we will have the ability for everyone to see the performance at one time. And there are scholarship opportunities. The Grace Kelly Foundation offers scholarships for Thespie winners. And I encourage you to look at the Thespies website to get more information if scholarships are of interest to you. Lastly, I'm going to talk about programs. And primarily, the programs are going to consist of workshops and PDIs. We are going to include a PDI, a professional development intensive, for both teachers and students this year. We will have a tech theater PDI for students. More information to come on that, but we're really excited to offer that for the first time in 2022. College auditions is open to rising seniors. We will be conducting all of that adjudication digitally prior to ITF. And callbacks and dance auditions will be held in person at ITF in Bloomington. So with that, I will be closing out the presentation. We look forward to seeing you in Bloomington again in June next year, and are wonderfully excited for all of you to be back in person and doing what you love on the main stages and chapter select showcase and performance venues throughout the week at ITF. We can't wait to be back together again, because when we are together, everything is better. Have a great day.